Now that I have an Auto 97 summary report of the unedited landscape for just our area of interest, and a fire behavior report for our edited landscape, with the same fire behavior model inputs, I can open these two reports side by side and have a look at the predicted fire behavior impacts given our landscape edits. But before taking a look at the reports, I want to have a look at the model outputs in Map Studio. So I'll go to the newly created model output, right click and select View on Map. And this is our fire behavior outputs for the edited post-treatment landscape. So I'm going to go into Simulation Output Tools and add our unedited landscape as well for comparison purposes. And I'm also going to add the polygon for our treatment areas just for my own reference. And from here I can start to have a look around to see the impact of the landscape edits and fuel treatment on fire behavior. So we've got flame length activated in Map Studio by default. And we've got the unedited outputs here on top, and we can see those areas of higher flame length in the southeast and the edges of our treatment polygons, as well as some areas in the center of the polygons. And using the swipe widget, making some adjustments to these layers so that they swipe back and forth to the features that we want. So you can see we've got the edited landscape outputs on the bottom and unedited on the top. And yeah, swiping back and forth, we can see within these polygons there's quite a bit of difference. A lot of those higher flame lengths are just not present in the post-treatment landscape, given those same Auto 97th moisture conditions. Taking a look at rate of spread for each of these landscapes, turn off flame length for each one and turn on rate of spread. And that's a little bit harder to see here on the map, but if you swipe back and forth on your own computer, it probably will be easier to see. The pre-treatment landscape definitely has a lot more of those 5 to 20 chains per hour areas and 20 to 50 chains per hour areas in the unedited versus 2 to 5 and 0 to 2 in the edited. And there's some higher ones in the edited as well, but a lot of these have declined to lower rates of spread. And another useful widget here, if I turn off the swipe widget for a moment and turn on identify, if there are specific regions or pixels in here I really want to look at, I can click this with both of the layers active in layer list. And I'll expand this identify box, and we can see we get the fire behavior outputs for each landscape listed here. So this can be really handy to see the numerical difference between the two. So you can see how Map Studio would be helpful. It's kind of going through these different fire behavior outputs in the map interface. But speaking of numbers here in the identify, the reports are really the place to see those quantifiable differences in graph format and table format. So to view those, I'm going to cut back to our workspace. And now we'll have a look at our summary reports in my workspace by selecting the File options and clicking View Summary. And these reports will open in new tabs, so we can move those around to see the reports side by side. So now I've got the two reports side by side, and just to be clear, we've got the unedited landscape Auto 97 summary report here on the left, and the edited landscape that reflects our thin, pile burn, and broadcast burn post-treatment here on the right. And you can see right off on both reports, information on the model inputs is displayed here at the top. We can also see we've got our area of interest and area of interest acres are listed here as well. So that's a quick, easy way to verify that your report is just reporting your area of interest and not some other part of the landscape that you're not interested in. And the landscape Auto 97 summary is a little bit longer because we've got landscape features in that summary report as well, whereas the edited landscape just has the fire behavior report. So I'm going to scroll down to the fire behavior section of Auto 97 because that's really what we're interested in. So checking out the flame length, the first report we get is a map view, and you can see started off with quite a bit of relatively higher flame lengths, 11 to 25 and 25 plus in the eastern part of our polygons, and well, kind of interspersed throughout the entire polygon, really. Looking at the post-treatment, we don't see much of that, and if we scroll down, we can see this quantitatively in our bar charts. For the treatment area in the unedited landscape, you can see higher flame lengths, 11 to 25 foot flame lengths across 16% of the area, and over 25 foot flame lengths for 10% of the area for modeled fire behavior, compared to the edited treatment landscape where there are no flame lengths over 11 feet. And looking at the rest of the chart, we can see most of the area is modeled to have lower flame lengths now. 78% of the treatment areas modeled to have flame lengths between 1 and 4 feet, and the highest modeled flame lengths now are 4 to 8 feet, and that is on only 2% of the edited post-treatment landscape. So you can see quantitatively here an overall shift from high flame lengths to lower flame lengths. The same information is also provided in pie charts, as well as tables, and you'll notice on the upper right of each table there's download options, copy the data, download a CSV or Excel spreadsheet, PDF version, or print. So that's a handy way to grab the data out of these tables and work with it. Each of these figures in the top right has a download option as well. So if you're wanting to include these in your own report or planning document, you can make a copy here, save it, and include it in any other materials that you're working in. So looking at rates of spread, just looking at the map image, it appears that there are lower rates of spread now post-treatment, which would make sense. And scrolling down to the graphs and charts, you can see a similar story for rates of spread that we were seeing for flame length. So kind of a shift from those higher rates of spread to lower rates of spread. So a big drop in those areas that were modeled to show 20 to 50 chains per hour, with a lot of areas now ranging between 0 and 5 chains per hour. So certainly seeing lower rates of spread modeled for our post-treatment landscape. Another aspect we were looking at when picking this area of the landscape was crown fire behavior. And here we can see on the map for crown fire activity, pretty notable differences here as well. This legend on the right of each map's a little hard to see, but the orange here is passive crown fire, yellow is surface fire. So I can just visually see that the unedited landscape had a fair amount of passive crown fire and a few spots of active crown fire, kind of more towards the western part of the polygons. And that shifted more to surface fire. And looking at our charts here, I can see that passive crown fire is pretty well eliminated, and all surface fire now post-treatment. And this is a good one for pie charts as well, showing that very clearly. So given the landscape edits and the conditions I was trying to create with those edits, this makes sense for my example landscape anyway for this course. So I'm going to go ahead and keep these. You can really see the value in these reports, both in terms of being able to compare the impact of your landscape edits and whether or not you feel that those are appropriate. And then once those are where you're wanting them, having this documentation, these tables and graphs that can either be used on their own or included in other documents to quantitatively show the modeled impacts of different treatments. And if I was comparing these and the post-treatment landscape didn't look quite right, I could always go back, make some additional landscape edits, or start a new round of edits on the original landscape, run the fire behavior model and report again and reevaluate, and just repeat that process until I reach an outcome that's appropriate given the treatments and intended fire behavior. And these reports and the fire behavior models that they're derived from will remain in IFTDSS until you delete them. However, I'm also going to download the entire report just so I've got a record of these on my own computer. And up at the very top of each report, there's a download report button. And this downloads a PDF copy of each report so that we've got that on file. So it's stamped with the date, our IFTDSS account name, and the information on the model output and landscape name. As we scroll down, we can see all of these graphs and inputs all included in one report. Before wrapping up, since we are on the topic of comparison reports, I will point out another report feature in IFTDSS, and that is under Cycle, Strategic Planning, and Develop Treatment Alternatives. And you can see here this is a linear walkthrough of the process similar to what we just did, where we create a landscape or pick a landscape, make edits, populate model inputs, run models, and compare alternatives. And this process comes out with pretty handy side-by-side graphics and reports. So in this case, for flame length, the bars are side-by-side with our pre-treatment and post-treatment landscape. Now, if you want to learn more about developed treatment alternatives, we've got a link in this course that goes to the Help Center topic for it. And there's plenty of documentation there. And the reason we chose to show these side-by-side individual reports for this overview course instead of using developed treatment alternatives is that it is currently a bit limited. So it functions for landscape fire behavior only, but not for minimum travel time fire spread or landscape burn probability. So while this has the potential to be pretty handy, it is a little bit limited. So we went with the comparison of actual model reports for the example here, just because that's flexible and you can use it with any model you want, create a summary, and compare the reports side by side. But if you're just doing basic fire behavior and want to look at a handful of alternatives, this can be handy, so we did want to point it out here. So Cycle, Strategic Planning, and Develop Treatment Alternatives.